Do you know how easy this is for me? This is a quote from a favorite movie of mine, Good Will Hunting, with Matt Damon and the late Robin Williams. I'm thinking about right now, listening to this book. It's called Deep Work by, who is it? Cal Newport. And he's talking about this study, or this scientist, back in the 1990s in the University of Florida. He's the guy, his name is Scott Anders Ericsson, trying to get that name right. And he's the guy that coined the term deliberate practice. And in the book, they're basically talking about this idea of the prodigy is basically a myth. And although it's true that genetics and, that kind of thing, what we're born with, some people are born with certain advantages versus others, there is this thing about deliberate practice. In a simple sense, deliberate practice means to actually just be focused on one thing, learning it. And I want to talk about this because when we talk about fitness and we talk about getting stronger and building a great body and great physical being, eating well, it's all deliberate practice. And I just keep thinking back to when I was into powerlifting, when I was into deadlifting, how much deliberate practice I did. That's one of the reasons why I got really good at deadlifting, and to this day I still have a high skill. Even though I haven't deadlifted for months, my skill for deadlifting is extremely high because I've had a lot of deliberate practice. And that is uninterrupted focus work. And you think about this for a moment with the social media and just the world today, with everything we got going on from YouTube, like you're watching on YouTube now, Facebook, it's so much distraction. But if you really want to get good at something, you have to drown out anything that's not going to contribute towards your goal, right? And I bring this up because, like right now, I'm working on my business, I'm working on my online business, building this thing that I want to build. And a big part of this is being able to sell stuff online, or sell, right? And like for you watching my video, I'm selling you not anything to buy right now, but I'm actually selling you to watch this video. And I bring this up because one of my biggest passions is working in front of the camera, is to do YouTube. I love YouTube. I don't know, I just enjoy it. I do enjoy writing too, but the problem is, like, the thing I'm talking about right now, I'm gonna write an article about it, and it's faster and easier for me to make a video about this than it is to write about it. So I bring this up because going back to this idea of deliberate practice and what it actually takes to become really good at something and why it works is this stuff in your brain called myelin, and you got these neurons, and it's like that, I think it's that gray stuff that's in your brain, and essentially it's almost like copper wire over. It's like copper. It's like I would say, more copper wiring. So you have to think about, like, your brain is like networked, right? And it has these ways of doing a task. For example, doing a deadlift has a certain pattern in the brain, and you're trying to connect your brain to your body. And sometimes you hit it perfect, like a hole in one, or you hit the perfect deadlift and you get the perfect pull position. Other times you're off. But a lot of that, but in order to sort of solidify that proper bar path, that proper pull position, that proper bracing of the core, that proper sit back, and all those positions, requires you to be extremely focused on trying to get it right and do very well. And not just with lightweight, but with heavyweight. And a lot of the time in any training session or even any training cycle, you only have so many heavy pulls. And relating this to deadlift, relating it to running, relating it to schoolwork, you only have so many opportunities to actually do a good job, to do good work. Because even though you might be doing a bunch of warm-up sets, the reality is, essentially, once you hit 90%, you're not going to be able to hit 90% that many times, 90% of your 1 rep max, because you're going to be too fatigued. And the next time you hit 90%, it's going to be off a little bit. Or maybe it might be better for me to say 95%. It depends on your fatigue level. This relates to other things too, because at that moment when you're asking that girl for her number, or asking someone to marry you, or you're getting that job interview, there's this moment where everything is sort of on the line, and in a certain way, depends on how you want to look at it, but everything's on the line, and you have that moment to essentially take everything that you've trained for to do this thing. In this case, making this video on one take, right? Or pick that bar up off the ground perfectly. And that's what makes powerlifting or sports so amazing, is that you have this essentially one opportunity to test your skills, to see how far you can push yourself. And I just love talking about it. It's awesome. But think about this for a moment as I kind of close this video out, is whatever it is you're doing, powerlifting, diet, nutrition, me building an online business, building a business to help more people. Got to be focused on the small hinges that swing big doors, right? And the small hinges in my profession, in my business that I'm building, it's going to be sales. It's going to be learning how to write well, learning how to communicate well. That's the hinge that swings the big doors. Now, if that's your goal, that's the same. We would have the same goal. But in the case of fat loss, it's always going to be related to nutrition. That's the hinge that swings the big doors. That's your 80-20, right? The 20% of work that does 80% of the results. And powerlifting, it's going to be your big 3. And you know what's so funny? There's an 80-20 of the 80-20. If your goal is to get better at lifting weights or get stronger at, let's just say using a deadlift as an example again, you know, to get better deadlifting, you have to deadlift. That's your 80-20 right there. The 20% that gets 80% of the results. But then what is the 80-20 of the 80-20? So think of it like this. What is it that is... What's the thing about your deadlift that you need to focus on? Is it speed? Is it pull position? Is it setup? Is it mobility? Is it timing? Is it breath? Is it nerves? Is it mental? It's gonna be all kinds of things. But there's a 20% of that gets the 80% of the results within that 80-20. And then deeper down the rabbit hole, there's another 80-20 of that 80-20. I don't know if you can kind of see where I'm going with this. It's just like there is that small few things that have the biggest impact to get you the biggest results in the thing you're working on. In the deadlift, there's that thing. To get better deadlifting, you deadlift. That's your 80-20. But then what is it in the deadlift that you need to work on? Now, what is it? Let's just say it's like core strength, right? Or just use as an example, using core strength, or maybe glute or core strength. They're kind of in the same area. So what about glute and core strength do you need to focus on? What is it about that? Is it because of position of the torso? Is it position of pull position? Is it because of not bracing hard enough? Is it because of mobility because you can't get into position? Is it like a mental mess up that's screwing you up? So those are like kind of 3 levels deep to fix something. And you have to think about that, like for whatever it is you're doing. What is the weight loss for diet? What is it about your nutrition? Everyone says, oh, I'm having trouble with diet and nutrition, but what is it about diet and nutrition that you're having trouble with? You know, is it in the morning? Is it in the evening? Is it in the afternoon? Is it when you go out with friends? And of course, it's one of those things, maybe a few of those things. But in those things are, again, the small hinges that swing big doors. So think about that for a moment. If you're interested in some of the stuff that I'm reading, I'll put some links in the description. This is a deep work, freaking awesome book. I'm actually only a 2nd chapter in. Anyways, thanks for watching. Click like if you haven't already. This is Ryan. See you guys later. Bye.